Welcome to the SDA Housing Podcast, brought to you by NDIS Property Australia. Before starting this episode, we need to provide a general disclaimer. Information contained in this podcast is general in nature only. It does not take into account the objectives, financial situation, or needs of any particular person. You need to consider your financial situation and needs before making any decisions based on the information in this podcast. And you should consider seeking independent and professional advice for your personal circumstances. All right, let's begin.
Hello, everybody. My name is Min, and I'm your co-host with Debbie from the NDIS Property Australia office. And you're listening to the SDA Housing Podcast. Our show explains, highlights, guides, and brings together. First time in 280 goes have I mixed my words.
Start again.
No, it's okay.
We show that we make mistakes, Dodie. It's okay.
Continuing on, don't worry. Debbie, what is today's topic about?
We are going to be talking about the latest NDIS supply and demand data, and specifically on the current supply of SDA dwellings across Australia.
Wow. Is this something new or something massive? But what changes what do you see here?
I'm seeing a huge jump in supply.
Wow. Well,
huge.
I did say 6 months ago, that there'll be a massive supply hitting the market at the end of 24 and the end of 25. That was a forecast. Are those trends coming true, or you're seeing something different?
No, very much so coming true. Yeah, so both the numbers of enrolled dwellings, new build specifically dwellings, have jumped significantly in 2024, so the 9 months to September 24, and the number of pipeline dwellings, which is any dwellings that have had their provisional design certification from an SDA assessor submitted to the NDIA. And that is what they then classify in their pipeline dwellings in the data report. So those two categories of supply have jumped up really significantly in the last 9 months.
Surprise, but not really surprised.
Yeah.
They're my comments.
Probably more than I would have imagined, though. We've had in the 9 months to September 30, we've had more new build dwellings enrolled than in the previous 4 years. So that's an interesting number. And also we have had more pipeline dwellings notified to the NDIS in the last 9 months than in the previous 4 years. So like from 21 to 22, 20 to 21, 21 to 22, 22 to 23. There has been an increasing number of...
And can I jump in here, Debbie?
Yeah.
To help our listeners go along this podcast, please go to our website, our homepage, www.ndis.property.
Yeah.
Debbie has kindly updated all the graphics, images, graphs, tables showing all these statistical changes to the pipeline information for SDA.
Yeah.
So that will help you go along with this podcast.
Yeah, so SDA data as of September 24. So yeah, it was just really interesting information. I thought that we needed to cover this. So I thought, wow, we know there's a lot of enrolled dwellings. It's hit 10,000, which was sort of one of the things that the NDI noted in their report to ministers. Of those, 6,000 are new build dwellings, for those of you who don't know exactly what I'm talking about. Enrolled SDA dwellings also includes properties that were kind of grandfathered into the system at the beginning of the NDIS, the old disability homes, the old institutional homes, what is termed as legacy or existing. So they don't necessarily meet the new build SDA design requirements. A lot of them, many of them are expected to be phased out over the coming years. So really what we tend to concentrate on when we're looking at future supply and future oversupply, undersupply, is the new build dwellings, anything built post April 2016. And of course, the pipeline. Pipeline has jumped really significantly. So that's why I thought I'd look at where those jumps have happened.
Debbie, when you and I spoke about this an hour or 2 hours ago, I said to you, all these dwellings coming out that are pipeline also, where are they? Where are they coming through? And you sort of inferred to me, Victoria-ish, maybe, pretty much. And so I'm asking you now the question of this massive jump in pipeline that you see, where is all the action happening?
Yep. All right, so I actually pulled the figures out.
Yep.
There are 2,258 new dwellings reported in the pipeline.
For Australia-wide.
Australia-wide in between December 23 and September 24.
Would it be fair to assume as an average 2.0, two participants per
Well, I looked at those figures yesterday. It's 1.8.
1.8. So, okay. So 1.8 times 2,200 is going to be about almost 4,000-ish. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. 4,000 places additional in the pipeline. Overall, there are now 7,000 pipeline dwellings. But yeah, the jump in the number of pipeline dwellings reported in December 23 to those reported in September 24, 2,258. Now, I worked out where they were. And this is kind of what I thought. The majority in Victoria, 36%, 824 dwellings. And I can even narrow that down and tell you that 770, sorry, not that's the total number, but the majority are, of course, in Melbourne West. And then the second most supplied area in terms of pipeline is the Melbourne Southeast and the third Geelong. So, you know, this completely corroborates everything that we know about what's going on with the supply out there. But yeah, 36% of the increase in pipeline has happened in Victoria. We have 19 and 18% respectively in New South Wales and Queensland, 423 dwellings, 415 dwellings. And then only a small increase in WA, 241 dwellings, 11%, 234 dwellings, 10% in South Australia, and smaller numbers in the other 3 states and territories. Yeah. So yeah, I did also think what would be interesting to know is where that pipeline predominantly is. As I mentioned in Melbourne, we've got it in Melbourne, West, Southeast, Geelong. Where is it in the other states? So in New South Wales, the majority of the pipeline, it's very more evenly spread in New South Wales, but we do have the majority in the Parramatta region of Sydney, the Blacktown region of Sydney, and the Outer West and Blue Mountains. So nothing's changed there. We're just seeing the number of dwellings jumping up. Queensland, again, nothing has changed here. The areas we know have the most oversupply still do. But, you know, if people are still starting constructions in these areas, the pipeline is still growing in these areas, we're already faced with massive oversupply and it's only going to get worse. So people need to take note of this. Logan, 204 properties still in the pipeline of an area that is the second most oversupplied area in the country. Ipswich, 176 properties in the pipeline. Townsville, 172 properties in the pipeline. So it just highlights everything we know, but people aren't changing. The market isn't changing. They're still building and planning new properties where they're no longer needed.
Well, can I just jump in here and tell our listeners, past, present and future, stop bloody building in Logan, Ipswich and Townsville. Stop it.
And West Melbourne.
Yes, West Melbourne, please. I know you want to contribute to the ethical world of disability housing, right? But do not go into those areas. Do not believe the builders. Do not believe the marketers. Stop going to the wrong areas.
Yeah. I had an interesting conversation with Grace last night in our office. We were talking about this data. I was specifically talking about the Gold Coast data because I'm focused on that at the moment for a client. Whilst we do have an undersupply there, it's, small little pockets. And Grace said, yeah, but, we might only need 10 or 20 dwellings in the Gold Coast North area or, similar areas. But there's all that oversupply or potential future oversupply in the Ormeau, Oxenford, Coomera areas. And we know, and I've mentioned this before on previous episodes, that the percentage of participants living in SDA in that area is the highest number of participants who are looking to move, indicating the inferior stock that is currently there. Now, when more properties get built and developed in those more central Gold Coast areas, closer to the coast, closer to the main centres, people will move down from Upper Coomera and Oxenford and Ormeau because that's not where they want to live. They want to live where they've grown up, where their families are. That's a small shift. In a lot of areas, we're not going to see those kind of shifts in population, but there will be areas. And she said, of course, when those homes are vacated in Upper Coomera, Oxenford, Ormo, you're probably going to see a shift from people living in the Logan area down to the Northern Gold Coast area, hence exacerbating the issue we've already got in Logan. So, there's a lot of ways you can look at this, but essentially it's so important to analyse where this is going.
Debbie, can I ask you a business question about our services for research and how we can apply this for our listeners, our investors? You mentioned the word inferior stock metrics of people looking to move, right? Can our team do that research of, if I said to you, Debbie, here's five areas around Australia. I'm thinking about investing in one of these 5 areas, but I want you to tell me what percentage of participants are looking to move, inverted commas, as part of one of the metrics in working out where to go to invest. Does our team, or can our team, work on the calculations of those 5 spots given the data provided by the quarterly reports?
You know what? Unfortunately, no, we can't anymore. That's one of the criteria that the NDIS have pulled from their data. They used to provide...
As of 2 quarters ago or 1 quarter?
Probably a few quarters ago. They used to provide the number of participants living in SDA and the numbers not living in SDA seeking and the numbers of people living in SDA seeking from memory. Sorry about that. But they don't...
Yeah. Can we go backwards and do it from...
We can certainly look at a historical data.
So 3 quarters ago, there was 25% looking to move in that area here and then 55% over here.
Exactly. So, it's not going to be the most accurate current data, but it's going to be still relatively on par. As I said, the Gold Coast had 45% of participants living in SDA looking to move.
Yeah. Look, ladies and gentlemen, the reason why I'm asking this to Debbie live on this podcast is to say there are so many metrics of data out there that should be analysed to help the decision-making process of investing in SDA. There's so much. And unfortunately, most of you who are investing in SDA are going blind, in the dark. It's the blind leading the blind, the old saying goes. And there are so many marketers, brokers, cowboys, builders, developers who are leading investors into the wrong areas, saying, oh, it's all great. Yeah, you make 90 grand, 100 grand per room, per tenant. No, that's 200 grand rent, blah, blah, blah. No. Follow the data, follow the research, do the analysis. And this metric of looking to move metric, that's only one of many, okay? So my advice to anyone is follow the data, do the research, engage people like us, ask the right questions, because if the person or group selling you the recommended SDA sale is not giving you proof and evidence of real-time data, which is showing the changes in the SDA world of pipeline and existing and whatnot, walk away, okay? My advice to anyone is ask the question 2-3 times, ask the question again, go to another third party to get independent reports, research, before you act and spend $1 million on a dud, okay? You've got to be very careful these days because, as Debbie's saying right now, there's so much stock coming through.
In the wrong areas.
And Debbie, let me say, on our website here that you put the numbers on, Debbie, let me point this to you. It took us 5 years to get this 24,181 SDA funded participants. And in 10 more years, 8 more years, there'll be 4,500 more.
5,500 more.
So the numbers of approvals is slowing down very quickly.
Yeah, well, in fact, that's another chart that is on the site that I put together yesterday, and that is the number of SDA funded participants, and it's actually plateaued pretty much over the last 9 months. Now,
tell me more, the numbers.
Why that's happened, we're not really sure.
Well, Debbie, we do know. The NDIS has pulled back their approval process.
Well, they've pulled back their approvals. I believe that there are some participants also losing their funding.
Yes.
Because they're not using it.
And by the way, the NDIS always said, we will never cancel fund. Well,
it's happening.
Yeah. And also, the whole topic about IL, improved ability, being stopped or cancelled out, right? Let me tell you something, ladies and gentlemen. Speaking to people on the ground, grassroots level, gossip with providers and whatnot, SIL providers and SDA providers, the government may not have cancelled improved ability, IL yet, but they definitely stopped approving IL.
Funding.
Yes, they've stopped it. And all the providers, a lot of providers have been telling us and our colleagues out there, they're not approving it. Now, imagine the backlash the NDIS would get if they cancelled IL. True.
That's how they're doing it.
But by quietly stopping it, the problem will just disappear one day. And that's what's happening out there. Yeah. So 24,000 approved in the last 5 years, 5,000 to be approved in the next 8 years. That shows you the slowed down process of the funding mechanism of the SDA.
Yeah, that's a really interesting space to watch at the moment. Obviously, this episode is focused on the dwellings on the supply side, but yeah, the demand is very interesting.
Debbie, on our website, where the bunch of numbers are on the middle of our homepage, there's a number called 3991 existing legacy. Have you been watching that number decrease at all?
It has slowly decreased from around about, I think, 5,000 or just under 5,000 4 years ago.
Okay, so it's
Slowly those dwellings are unenrolled.
under.
Yeah.
It makes sense. A lot of those older style houses, group homes and legacy homes from 10, 20 years ago, owned by the government, and now being, it's not fit for purpose, just move them out and then sell the house or knock it down and whatnot. So,
refurbish them and turn them into a new build.
Exactly, okay. But the government wants the asset back, and then they know it's a private market product, the SDA world there, so we've got to see that number 3991 slowly decreasing.
Yeah, it drops a little bit every quarter. Yeah, but the big change this quarter has been the new build and pipeline. Big surprise how much that's jumped up.
Debbie, you and I were talking about 2 hours ago about all these numbers here, and I said to you, look, as the volume comes through that are pipelined, we're going to see an attrition of SDA stock that are currently enrolled to be unenrolled long term. And I'll give you an example here, right? All those excess builds sitting in West Melbourne, out there west of Melbourne, Mamboran, Werribee, Tarnee, Mallalay, all those areas there. There's only so long they can sit there empty. At some point, they'll be sold off to a normal family to be used for a normal rental, or they'll be rented out to a normal family, right? That's the reality. There's excess stock. And as a result, they'll be absorbed into the normal rental market, and they will cease to be an SDA.
Yeah, so we'll see a lot of new build also coming out of the system.
Yes.
Where they are bad stock in bad locations.
Because the reality is bad stock will never get filled up.
No.
They'll just sit there. Yeah. Any other major comments from the updates that we need to cover before we hang up on this podcast, Debbie?
No, look, I think, there is probably one more figure there, and that's the one on the bottom right-hand quarter. 3,270 additional new build SDA dwellings needed by 2032, if phasing out all existing and legacy dwellings. So what we've done here is we've calculated just the new build and pipeline dwellings and the number of places, compared it to the number of SDA-funded participants by 2032, which the NDIS have stated they expect to be just under 30,000, and worked out where the gap is. So literally 13,000 dwellings equals about 22,000 places, 29,000 participants. We're looking at about 6,000. I don't know, I've got the calculations here, but it came to 3,200 dwellings needed. That's not a lot when we've literally added 2,200 these last 9 months. But as Min said, we're going to look at an attrition of inferior new build stock in bad areas that will be replaced with better stock in better areas. So whilst at the moment that number looks a little bit scary for the market, there will be a lot more new build needed in the right locations. That's really important to understand.
Yeah, thank you so much. That's wonderful to hear all that, the latest updates. So I guess in 3 months, by the way, hang on, the Housing Hub, they came out with their yearly report recently, didn't they, Debbie?
So the Housing Hub every year do a survey of providers.
30 or 40-ish?
Well, they put it out to everyone, and so a number will come back completing the survey of pipeline development. So this goes beyond what the NDIS are reporting, because of course the NDIS report on properties that have had their provisional design certificate from an SDA assessor. The Housing Hub's survey covers properties that are planned that have not yet reached that stage, as well as those that are in development. Now, the numbers that they reported were about a quarter of the actual NDIS pipeline, so it's more of a representation.
You think it's a quarter, or they said it's...
No, I looked at the numbers. Yeah, it's a quarter. It's like 1,700 compared to 7,000.
And just jumping in here, why it's a quarter is because only providers are invited to do the survey.
That's right. And only some will do it because, it's a time-consuming thing and it's a voluntary survey.
Yeah, and a lot of developers out there don't want to share the information that they're doing out there.
True. So, it's a good indication, but not the whole picture. But yeah, we might talk about that a little later.
If anyone wants to go buy that report, they could go get the housinghub.au
Yeah,
and searches the report there.
they've got a page on there for data reports.
I think it's a couple $100 if you want to buy the report.
Bit more than that.
Okay.
Yeah.
But you contributed to the survey, didn't you, Debbie?
Yes, we did.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah.
But they asked us not to share the report.
Yes, that's correct.
So they don't sell it, right? Yeah.
That's exactly right. But, interesting information there. And, they always release the general overview of it.
Yeah. Before we hang up, Debbie, let's talk about recent changes to our SAS feasibility support work and research report. I've sensed a change a shift in the marketplace. We're getting a lot of inquiries from small-time developers or mum and dads with land to look at doing developments, builders with sites, to ask for research, feasibility and advice. And we're getting a lot of that, and it's keeping us very, very busy. So thank you to all those, all our listeners who are sending their inquiries through. So we're more than happy to help you out. But yeah, I just feel like people are more educated. More sophisticated as well, yes. And they're all also wary of dealing with the wrong crowds out there. And we won't mention names, but I think the best way forward for anyone who's looking to come into the world of SDA as a developer, investor or builder is to do your homework, talk to the right people, and just do background checks. We're continually getting referrals from good people around SDA around Australia to help out with their clients. And so much so that we're now thinking about launching a development management service in-house to help developers manage the whole 1.5 to 2 year project around their sites, because it's an extension of what we do. We're doing feasibility work, we're giving advice. We work collaboratively well with designers, architects, town planners, assessors to produce the right product. And given the scope being so much more harder to pinpoint the ideal product out there in Australia, and the numbers are increasing so fast, Debbie, we have to educate our developer investors, design the right product, DDD, data design desirability. You got to do it right, and unless the whole team of people working together are collaboratively agreeing to the whole process, there'll be problems with the product. Okay, data and design and desirability. So we'll talk more about this in the new year, Debbie. This development team that we're going to build together. But if you are a site owner that needs help with feasibility and research or possibly development management role, please talk to our office and talk to myself, and we'll happily give you more insight as to how we can add value to your project there as well. Yes.
Absolutely.
Any final words of advice, Debbie, on data before we hang up this potty?
Just keep your eye on it. Keep your eye on the data. It's changing very, very quickly.
Yeah. Data. Goodbye.
We love it. We love it here.
Thank you, everyone. See you later. Bye-bye.
Bye.
We hope you enjoyed this episode. Please make sure you are subscribed and following us so you can keep in the loop with all of our upcoming episodes. We would really appreciate it if you could leave us a 5-star rating, a written review, and to share this podcast with those that could benefit. Until next time, catch you on the next episode.